Alright, hello everyone. I haven't made a video for a while. There hasn't been like a lot to film really. I have been making one which you'll see soon. But it took quite a few days to get all the information, so we're all hanging around in the house. Well, we just got back from a bit of breakfast actually. We're gonna go out up to Index Living Mall, which you'll see in the other video. But I got like an hour and a half to kill, so I thought I'd go and do a bit of farm work. Bung Bung's over there in the mud. We had quite a bit of rain a few days ago. Everything was flooded again. Not too badly, but still got wet boots from it. Go on. So I'll let Bung Bung out with me. Both the dogs went out for a run with Pen this morning, but they've been sleeping for the last couple of hours, while me and Pen have been over in the town. Someone in the comments said I should show the trees more. I'm not sure what they meant by that, or just show them more or talk about them more. On the way into the farm just now, I noticed some of our bamboo is like overgrown again, so I thought I'd go and cut it off. Generally the trees are fine. We had some problems with some down the back, but I think they're looking okay again. Maybe we'll have a wander down there in a minute and I'll show you. I think I've mentioned these two before, so there were two put in next to each other. Those are roughly 6 months old, something like that. And the one on the left, I'm leaving it unpruned, and the one on the right, I'm pruning it. And you can see already, the one on the right has a 6-inch height advantage. It's got at least 6 inches taller in just the last 2 months. And then this one here is getting all crowded by all this bamboo, so I thought I'd chop all that down. I did this just a few months back, but it grows back so quickly. Right, best to use gloves when dealing with bamboo. Learn something new every day. Seems to have some sharp edges somewhere. Yeah, this keeps all sort of growing over into this tree, but that's better. I've freed it up now, so it's got space all around it. For those of you who've been watching long enough, that's the stump of the coconut tree that used to be up here. That's the one we had chopped down quite a long time ago. There's Bung Bung barking at me. I'm starting to think that maybe Bung Bung has bad eyesight, and that's why he's always barking at the neighbours, and he's running down here to see who it is. I think he can't see properly. Bung Bung! It's me, what are you doing? Yeah, I think that's why he's always in the neighbours and he's barking at the neighbour every day. I think he can see something, someone, but he doesn't know who it is, and he's always barking at him in there and him in there, and sometimes even me and Pen, and we can be just sort of 20 metres away from him, and he barks at us. And well, that would make sense, wouldn't it, that he can't see very well. I was reading online that maybe dogs don't have that good eyesight sometimes. And well, look, yeah, I said that we had a bit of rain the other day. This area is a bit like all floods, and one thing I've noticed when I'm walking through here is, I hope it comes out on the camera, but you can see there's like a green tinge to the mud. Does it show on the camera, that greeny colour? It's like it goes all horrible. And well, my theory is that every time it floods, if the water's sitting on top of the surface for a while, then surely it's going to kill whatever's living in the soil, because it's stopping them breathing. You know, it isn't any microbes living in the soil under there, drowning in that water that's sitting there. So I'm sure that when we have the floods coming in, it's killing a lot of the life that's in the soil, and that's obviously no good for the soil. If you're bringing in cow poo and whatever to try to improve the organic content of the soil, and then that soil is then flooding at some point, aren't you undoing all your good work? One of the reasons we need to do some earthworks on the farm and stop the flooding happening over such a wide area. So in that front section of the farm where it's a bit higher up, it doesn't flood, the soil is noticeably better, and down this back section where it does flood, The soil is more clay-like, it's not as nice, and I'm pretty sure that the reason for it, the main reason, is that it floods. One other thing I'm sure I've mentioned before is that this row of trees next to these palm trees are quite yellow. They're noticeably yellow compared to this row here. Hopefully you can see that on the video. That's somewhat of a mystery as well. People say perhaps it's all the roots of these palm trees are growing under here and they're kind of stealing all the vitamins. There's definitely something going on. So one of the things we're going to do to do some earthworks and improve the flooding problems is, like other people do, we're going to dig a trench all along here and all around the back, but yeah, all along here. So dig a big hole, and we're hoping that that's also going to cut through some of the palm tree roots. So if that is indeed the cause of our yellow trees here, we're hoping breaking through all the roots is going to stop them robbing the vitamins from our trees here, and it might also help this row of trees. I wanted the neighbour Puck to come and do the digging now. I think Penn spoke to him today, but he's got his digger up in the mountains somewhere, and he's done one farm, and then the next door said, oh, come and do a bit of ours, and then the next door said, oh, come and do a bit of ours. So yeah, I wanted him to come because I'm pretty sure that I'm going to go back to England at the end of this month. The end of the month is my birthday, and I've kind of decided, like, that's the limit. I've got to put a limit on it, even if I'm not quite where I want to be with the house. I have to go back to England to do some work. So I wanted the guy with the digger to come and start digging and start moving the mud around a little bit before I left. But anyway, it's a few more weeks still, so hopefully he'll be finished up in the mountains and he can come down and start doing some digging for us. It's those annoying birds again. They're everywhere this time of year, so they'll be nesting in there. Often they nest in us as well. I can't remember if I said this, so sorry if I'm repeating, but yeah, we had a bit of problem with the trees down the back. They got quite a lot of disease on them, and they were struggling. About 2 months back, I gave the trees, the whole farm, a pruning, and quite a hard pruning, thinking it's the beginning of the dry season, it's a good time to prune, but there wasn't much of a dry season. It kept raining. When it's raining, it's harder to manage the disease, and we also think what happened is because they cut down all the rubber trees here, you know, all the insects that were living in there, and now we've got to go and find a new food source, so we think a lot of the insects came into us. And yes, some of the trees down the back here were starting to struggle a little bit. They were getting very flea bitten, but I know some people don't like to hear this, but we did a lot of spraying. Pen did quite a lot herself, and then also we paid the grass cutters, because they'll do whatever farm job you want them to do. They don't just do grass cutting. We paid them as well to do 2 or 3 days of spraying to sort of get back on top of the problem. And Pen was just telling me earlier she thinks it looks okay down here now. It's all they're coming back a little bit, and I have to say I agree. They do look a bit better, so that's good news. What happens is, so the trees grow by pushing out new sprouts. These new sprouts are particularly susceptible to certain types of insects. There's lots of insects that really like to eat these new soft leaves. The trees push out new sprouts by themselves a number of times throughout the year, but they do it particularly after they've just been pruned. When you do like a hard pruning, they'll push out loads of new sprouts, and that's a time that you can get like an infestation, because there's so much of those leaves. All this in here is all new sprouts, and the insects really love these. So that's a time that you need to kind of be extra careful. Often it will be okay. The new sprouts come, you get an infestation, all the insects come and eat all those new leaves, but then maybe a couple of months later the tree will push out some new sprouts. Maybe that time you'll be lucky, or maybe you won't. Maybe the insects will come and eat them again. And the point being that if you don't spray and protect those new leaves, you're just setting yourself back a couple of months every time, and that can add up and it can set you back years. See, once it pushes out the new leaves, once these new leaves turn into more mature leaves, like the darker green stuff, they're safer, The insects don't like these as much. They do still get disease and problems, just less. I've just come up the road on the motorbike. I've been here before. That's where that German guy lives. And then there's another farm in here. I just wanted to show you because me and Pen drive past this farm every day. We look in here every day. Their trees do look quite nice at the moment, but often they look quite diseased. We think that they don't take care of them quite as much as they should. The little house there, the people who live in there don't own this land. They sort of live in there as caretakers. Someone might have a bit of land and they want to grow some durian here, for example, but they don't want to be here every day managing it themselves. So they'll do a deal with someone they know or whoever, and they'll say, you know, you can come and live in my land for free, but in exchange you take care of my trees. There might also be some money changing hands a little bit, but I'm not sure of the details. But I'm just saying, often we drive past and we see the trees look quite diseased and we think that they don't spray them, let's just say, well let's say as often as they could do. When me and Pen first came here, their trees were much nicer than ours. They were bigger and looked stronger and better, and we used to drive past here and go, oh, I wish our trees were like their ones. We're jealous of them. But 18 months later, our trees have leapfrogged them. Our trees are much bigger, much nicer, much healthier. So yeah, about 18 months ago, our trees here were smaller than the ones over on that other farm, and now ours are all bigger than theirs. There are periods when their trees look really nice and green like they do at the moment, and there's often periods where they just really don't look very nice, and I think that is the reason. So when their trees are pushing out these new sprouts on the ends of the branches and at the top of the tree, so instead of achieving some new growth, it's just being eaten back by pests. We would still like to buy this land, but they don't want to sell. If you remember a while back, I did mention that Pen's son walked through here and then he started talking about, let's try and buy this, but the lady won't sell. But this is like her nephew, Puck's her nephew. So after asking again a couple of times and they don't want to sell, in casual conversation, Puck mentioned, oh, if someone offered me the right price, I might sell. So after that, we started discussing maybe we could buy Puck's land instead. And I think his land starts here and goes right to the road. I think it's about 4 rye, something like that. Pen went over to talk to him this morning about the possibility of him selling. And he said, no, I don't want to sell. But he said he was interested in potentially doing something together. I don't know what that would be. Well, that's what's going on, so I thought I'd tell you about it. Pen's son kind of wants to have a little resort, like some small rooms with a swimming pool. Pen kind of wants to have a cafe. Personally, I don't think the location here is really right for it, so I'm not keen on the idea, but I suppose you never know. Yeah, the good part about this piece of land is it does edge onto the road here. An obvious benefit if you were going to put any kind of business in. But it's such a quiet road. There's no passing traffic. You'd have to do everything sort of advertised online, and well, I suppose that does work these days with Google and Facebook and whatever. Obviously this could be your car park area. If that's got good foundations, that could even become a cafe building with a bit of tarting up. So I suppose it's possible, you know, you've got your car park building. Even there is a bit of space for a few little rooms and a swimming pool up to about this point, and then some nice gardens and fruit trees down the back. Pen's son says this land's a little bit small. I'm inclined to agree. It's just a little bit. One thing I'd be apprehensive about is you've got this family living in here. Maybe they wouldn't want their nice quiet part of the world turned into like a resort. So yeah, Pen asked Puck this morning if he wanted to sell. He said no, but maybe interested in doing something together. What that together thing is, I don't know. It might be a cafe down there or something. But at the moment, Pen's kind of left the ball in Puck's court to see what idea he comes back with, if he has any suggestion of how we could work together. So we'll just wait and see what he says. Just go in here into my other neighbour, into the mare's farm. So one thing I've noticed in this farm this year is the big trees, which did fantastically last year, are not doing as well this year. But some of their smaller trees are doing better this year. I think this tree had about 5 fruit in it last year, and I can see about 20 in there this year. It's a big difference. Looks like this little tree here's got one fruit. We estimate this farm makes something in the region of 400,000 baht a year off this fruit. We asked the guy once, we said, you know, how much you getting, and he said, well, off the big trees they normally get 500,000 baht, which it sounds about right. Last year the big trees in here did very well. So that's the trees that are kind of that size and not these smaller ones. But there's no reason why trees like this can't have fruit. It's plenty big enough. And I'm certain that if this farm was sort of better taken care of, and it was a year with the good weather for it, it could easily do 1 million baht a year in fruit. I'm sure of it. Again, this farm is about 4 or 5 rye, something like that. Anyway, I think I've rambled enough. So see you later. I'm going out now. So I hope that's okay for a video. And look, that's good timing. Even Bung Bung is back. There's Gorgie, he's awake now. Pen gave him a haircut yesterday. She's done a pretty good job. Thinned out all his fur and make him nice and cool. See you later. A naughty husky, a naughty Gorgie.